Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Find a Way podcast with Dusty. Hopefully, you're doing well on your journey. I wanted to expand a little bit more on a discussion that I put up on the story regarding mental health and the perspective changes that have happened since surgery, and really not being able to pinpoint why there's been a change in regards to some mental kind of processes. So I'll kind of give you a backstory. I am typically I'm very negative. I can be very negative. I can be very worst case scenario. I am the individual that will play out the worst case scenario so that I could prepare myself mentally. Intrusive thoughts, unfortunately, do like the worst thing that could happen. And honestly, some of those things are good in the sense of like if my son or daughter are playing with something, like what's the worst that could happen? I'll, prevent them from standing on something, from something to happen. Like that mindset of things not going the ideal way. I find myself going there. I've got typically, and my wife has always been able to call me out that when I sing this song, it's "Hello, darkness, my old friend." Like, honey, where are you mentally? She's asking me. And it's usually when I feel like this dark cloud, I just get very negative. I speak a lot of negative things, and I've just got this negative rhythm that I'm constantly working through. One of my biggest vices is how stress affects my mental health and how negative I get and how self-defeating I get. And that's been me for a long, long time. And so one thing that I've just been accustomed to is that process and that way of thinking. And I had the skin surgery. It's like such a simple little, yeah, so I had skin taken off, and then really though, I had skin surgery and they removed 12 pounds of skin. They removed 12 pounds of skin from my midsection. So essentially everything from my chest down to right above my like hip area, lower hip area, was all removed. It was 12 pounds of skin with some liposuction. So there were a lot of, and if you didn't know already, that fat cells don't disappear. They just shrink. So it isn't you losing fat cells. You're not breathing out, using the restroom and pooping out fat cells. Your fat cells are there and they simply shrink. And so that's when you get leaner and that's when you get smaller. Well, with the liposuction and with the skin surgery, they're removing a whole bunch. And that's including in there fat cells. And so with the combination of hormones and ghrelin and all these kind of, all the things that are going on chemically, biochemically within our bodies, something changed after the skin surgery in regards to how I'm processing things mentally. But also at the same time, when I was recovering from, like, I knew I had surgery, I was like, man, I got to focus on my collagen, my super greens. I got to focus on creatine. I got to focus on high protein. I got to make sure that I have the best building material for my body. I got to put my body in the best position nutritionally so it could heal, because I was going through such a intense surgery. And so I started supplementing 5 grams of creatine per day. And no, creatine's not going to make you bulky, buff, and like all this and that. I mean, sure, bodybuilders use creatine, but if you're going to use creatine, it's simply an energy replenisher to when you work out, and it's replenishing what you lose during workouts. It's not that like I'm going to be Mr. Olympia with, huge old, no, that's not going to happen with creatine. It is one of the most tested supplements, and it is widely known to be very beneficial. Now, one of the benefits of it is actually for your mental health, that your alleviation of negative and depressive thoughts, and so many studies now have shown such an improvement with your mental clarity and kind of that mental heaviness being relieved. And so At the same time that I had the surgery, I started supplementing with creatine. So I can't pinpoint exactly what led to, the best way for me to describe it, it kind of feels like an abyss feeling, and not in a bad way. It's like I know how to process worst case scenario in my head. And it feels like you ever have like something happen and then you kind of get this like pain in your chest. I'm not talking about like, oh my gosh, I'm having a panic. Like, I mean, it could lead to, your mind processes a certain way and an anxiety attack or anxiety takes place. But like there's this heaviness that hits you. It's almost like mentally I'm already going there, worst case scenario, dark cloud, negative thinking, but the heaviness doesn't hit me. And it's almost like I don't understand like why it's not hitting me. Like, this is how we process. This is how it is. We process the thought, we go through with the worst case scenario, it brings us down, changes our mood, changes our disposition, and we just go through the cycle of that negative thought, dark cloud, disposition change. It's almost like the negative thought is there, and maybe this is, honestly, I'm kind of talking this out and understanding as I'm chatting about it. It's like I'm mentally doing it, and I'm mentally going there. The dark cloud's there, but there's no disposition. My disposition isn't different, isn't changed. It almost goes into abyss where there's no change. And it's like, I wonder if there's something to do with, I don't know. Could be a skin surgery, could be creatine. Right now I'm pointing towards creatine because, you can't say, what's to say what was stored. I mean, you think about this. When you have elevated cortisol levels, you store excessive weight in your midsection. And stress is one of the leading causes of elevated cortisol levels. And elevated cortisol will typically show kind of in your pouch. You almost have this pooch right above your pelvic area or right around your stomach. And so elevated cortisol levels, cortisol is a hormone. And so I think about all the areas of removal that had potential storage of hormones that are now gone. And it's almost like the abyss that my mind is trying to go to with these negative thoughts and dark cloud. It's like, oh, it's not there. It's not to say it can't be built, but there's not as much of a heaviness that I felt before. And it's a very distinct difference. And this is really just kind of sharing my, if you have skin surgery, something to look out for. I always like to make sure that this is, not only a conversation about what's happened with me, but maybe somehow, some way turning it to being beneficial for you or helpful, educational. If you're going to have skin surgery, there's more that's going to happen than just your physical body changes. There's going to be significant mental changes. I mean, you think like, I've got 12 pounds of skin. I've always woken up to that. Now I'm waking up to nothing there. I'm putting my pants on different. The way clothing, undergarment, everything, the way it sits is different. So it's almost like you're being born again, and you're like, all right, well, what's this new life? And it's just a discovery. And I just feel like I'm there right now. I'm really in a discovery of what all this newness looks like. I don't know what it looks like. I can assume. But here's another song that my wife always, like, when I sing it, she's like, what's going to happen? What is it? I'm going through changes. Like, I'll just randomly start singing it. And it's almost like there's a song that my mind sings. And it's like, and what's interesting is that I've typically, when we've had big changes in our lives, moving, this, that, and everything else, it's all having to do with, all of a sudden this song just comes in my mind and I'm just you sing a song under your breath. You remember when Hanson had that song, Bop, and you sang it under your breath, and you were annoyed that you were singing it, or you got that song stuck in your head? Yeah, I'm going through changes is stuck in my head at times, and it's like, where is that coming from? And it's right around the same time that there's big changes. And so I would almost say I wouldn't be surprised if in the upcoming future I'm singing I'm going through changes, because I definitely am. Definitely am. But about 10 minutes, 30 seconds. Hopefully this was another step forward in your journey. Maybe some reflection on your journey as compared to mine. But hopefully you're doing well, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. Take care.